I don't know what this video is going to be, but we're just going to roll with it. Hi, if you're new here, I'm Kenzie. I am hello. I'm Kenzie. I'm a trauma-informed life coach. I'm an NLP life coach. I talk about trauma, healing, my life, everything. It's everything over here. If you're ADHD like me, you're probably going to like it, so stick around. Today we're just chatting. I have a cold. I woke up so sick. I think it's because I went to the fair. Don't go to the fair. Oh my gosh, there's so many germs there. I washed my hands and everything. I don't know. I woke up feeling really bad today. But that's okay. We're just going to chit chat and we're going to hang out and it's going to be low key. I was not even planning on filming today, but you know what? Let's just chat. Let's hang out. Let's talk about healing, huh? I don't know if that's what we'll talk about. We'll just see where the conversation goes. I feel like one common theme that has been coming up in my life has been like confidence and change and growth because, now that I'm posting consistently online, which is something so many people are scared to do, including myself. I was so scared to do this. I've been getting people coming up to me start saying like, oh, I saw your videos. And it used to make me so insecure. And I'd be like, oh my God, no, don't see them. Like I would, and like even way back when, like before I started like actually genuinely posting, like when I post for funsies and whatever, I would block everybody that I knew so that they wouldn't see my videos. And so now I've been like, then I started challenging myself to just say like, oh, thank you. Like, thank you for, acknowledging that. And now it's like exciting when somebody says that they saw them because it's like I can fully express like, yes, I'm in this new chapter of my life and people are seeing it and it's so fun. And it's like I've got this confidence now that I've never had in my life. I used to get so insecure about things like that. I never would have had the confidence to post anything before, but now I'm able to say like, yeah, I'm a life coach and yeah, I post my stuff online and yeah, I'm making a course and it's about to drop and like all of these other super fun things where, where did this confidence come from? From somebody who has been the most insecure person you've ever met in your entire life. Oh my God, where did this confidence come from, right? And I think a big part of it too, like I never would have got this confidence if I didn't go through the shit that I went through, and like was forced down this healing journey. Like none of this would have happened. Like it was all divinely timed. Like if I wouldn't have gone through the abuse that I went through that completely destroyed me as a person and stripped away everything. Like granted, yes, I never had confidence growing up. I never had confidence. Like, my parents really made me feel like shit about myself as a kid. So as an adult, I never had confidence. But then getting into this relationship, already being insecure and then having somebody really deteriorate me as a human being, and then it coming to a head and like almost losing my life, and then that person just exiting my life and being left like, okay, now what? Like everything was stripped away and I had to really, really, really deep dive into healing. That gave me such a sense of like I got to build myself up. And I do say I got to, like I did get that opportunity, but I also had to choose to. Like I could have stayed broken and chose like drinking and masking those feelings and masking that pain. And when we feel that pain, like you either choose to see it or you don't. You can choose to drink and do drugs and party and cope with things like sex and relationships and all of these things that hide that pain, right? Because you don't want to look at it and it's super painful. And that's why so many people don't heal. And it's easy to do those things. Or you can choose to heal it and look at it and go through the pain. And where I was at in life, I was already in so much pain. I was already hurting. I was already broken. I was already, I had already essentially lost like everything that I had built up over the last few years. So it was like I was already hurting. So what else did I have to lose besides looking at this pain and really doing that deep healing? And so when I did, I really saw everything for what it was, and I had that chance to really dive deep, and it felt like a once in a lifetime opportunity to really start over and really dive deep into these things. So not only was I healing from a near-death experience and healing from this breakup essentially, and it was a breakup, but it was so much more than a breakup, right? And if you want to see more on that, there's more videos on that on my channel. That's not what this video is about, but But yeah, I really had to look deep into myself. This is so much deeper than that. This is like, why did I let all these things happen in the first place? Okay, I have parental wounds. Okay, well, why did this happen? Why did this happen? And it was like peeling back the layers deeper and deeper and deeper, and finding all of these truths about myself that it's like, oh my gosh, I realized why I was so insecure and why I was so, self-conscious, and like all of these truths were coming out. And it was because I chose to look at it, because I chose to find, the answers. And it's like, I didn't ever have faith in myself for anything. I believe the narrative that like I was never going to amount to anything, because that's all I ever saw growing up. And all I was ever told was that this was all I was ever going to be. And then I, got pregnant at 17, and that solidified that. And so I had this narrative about myself that I wasn't ever going to be shit. And so when I thought that, your mind creates your reality. So thinking I was never going to be shit, essentially, I was never going to be shit. And it took stripping everything away for me to be able to recreate that narrative in my life. And now here I am, completely building everything that I've ever wanted. I feel like it really takes you being willing to go through that pain and that heartache of staring yourself and into your, looking into your worst pain and your hardest parts, and doing that deep soul work, and like looking into the parts that you don't want to look into, the parts that you always look away from, like your shadow, the things that you don't want to see, the things that make you like scared to look at, like, the things that make you insecure about yourself. Or it's like, when you really sit down and it's like, if you get angry really easily, don't just sit there and chalk it up to, okay, I have anger issues. Like, dig into it. Why do you have anger issues? Why do you get angry so easy? Don't just say that's who I am. There's a reason behind it. None of your personality, and I have been posting about this a lot recently because I've been learning about this a lot recently in this class that I'm taking, but like, none of your personality traits are just given to you. Very, 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 very few of the personality traits that you have are just things that you're born with. We learn them at a very young age to survive, quote unquote, survive our situations. You learn at a young age that anger gets you what you want. If you grew up seeing your dad get angry all the time, or if you grew up and having a temper tantrum got your parents' attention when they didn't normally give you attention, then growing up, you are going to probably have anger issues as an adult. Versus on the flip side, if you grew up getting in trouble for being angry, and like if you had a temper tantrum, your parents punished you, chances are growing up as an adult, the second that your nervous system feels that sense of anger, even start like that little sense of anger, you're going to shut that emotion down and bottle it up. Or like if you were never good enough for your parents, and if you always had to earn their affection, and if to them you only got their attention when you did something really, really good, then you're probably a people pleaser now. So all of your traits that you have started when you were really, really young. That's where your self-esteem was established, is when you were young and you learned where your value was. So it takes looking into those things and digging really deep to find where was that established for you as a child, and doing that inner child healing work to realize like you are worthy, you are good enough. No matter what you were taught as a young kid, you are still good enough. You are doing more than you need to, and that you are valuable no matter what. Looking at that past version of yourself and telling them that you are good enough, because when you look back in the memory and you feel like you weren't good enough versus when you look at it from an outside perspective as a child, those are two different things. Like looking back saying I didn't feel like I was good enough, and then picturing that child that was you as like an outside version of you, that kid was good enough, right? I don't know if that makes sense how I wanted it to, but I think you get what I'm saying. You were deserving. You were good enough. You were valuable. You deserved to have everything that you should have had as a child. But it's hard when you weren't given the things that you deserve to have. And it's really hard on your self-esteem. And so now as an adult, and this was something that I always struggled with, was like I never had a voice. I never stood up for myself. I never spoke up. Speaking in general, like even in a group of friends, oh my God, never something I could do. Ever. Like I was always the quiet one. I was always the passive one. I was always the shy one. I could never, raise my hand in class. I was always really, really smart, but like, God, please don't call on me. Like, I did not want to be, recognized. I didn't want anyone to even notice I was there. Like, I couldn't speak at all. I did not want to be recognized in a room ever. And that was because as a kid, my feelings were always invalidated. I was always meant, I always felt like a burden. My mom always would tell us how hard she worked and how she had to work all these jobs and how she was doing all of this to support my brother and I. And while like she didn't directly say you are a burden, she beat around the bush, and it was like I knew I was a burden. I felt like I was a burden. I felt like I didn't deserve to be there because she always had to work and never got to do anything she wanted to do. And she made sure I knew that. Every day she made sure I knew that. And I knew how hard she worked. And it was like I would have lemonade stands as a kid and then take the money and put it in her piggy bank, like her bill money jar and all of these things. Like I knew from a young age that I needed to give her money in order for me to feel deserving of existing. Like that was so messed up, and I should never have felt that way as a child. And that was something that I had to go in and heal as an adult, and something that I continuously have to work on healing, because that was something that really stuck with me from childhood. But now when I say something, even if it comes off a certain way, I always try to be respectful, but when I say something, like, I'm not going to tiptoe around it. If you hurt my feelings, or if you are saying something offensive, or if you are being rude, or if you are, being too much, or if you are just blatantly saying lies or things that are wrong, or if I know you're lying, I am going to call you out. I am going to say something. I'm going to voice my opinion in a respectful way, but I'm going to say what I mean. And if it's offensive, that's on you and not me. It's not my responsibility to protect your emotions from my truth. As long as I'm saying it in a respectful way, then it's on you for how you perceive it. And you can't go around life being afraid to offend everybody and afraid to, it's not your job to handle everyone else's emotions and be responsible for everyone else's emotions. And that was something else that I really struggled with, is I always had to take care of my mom's emotions. Therefore, I was always scared to offend anybody, and I felt like I had to protect everyone else's emotions and protect how everyone else was going to react to things. But now it's like, I know my voice matters, what I have to say matters, and if I'm going to make some people mad, sometimes that's going to happen. So now that's why, like, I post things online, and I know a lot of what I say makes people mad, and you can see it in the comments, and that's okay. That's okay, because my voice matters, and what I have to say matters. I said what I said. I own what I said. Everything that I've ever posted online, I own what I said. Those are my words. That's my voice. That's my opinion. I back it up 1,000%. I have a voice, and I'm allowed to use it, as does every single one of you. As long as you are being respectful and not just like, bullying other people. Like, I'm obviously never going to be for that, but like being respectful and being kind, but standing up for yourself and using your voice, I think always is an empowering thing to do. And every time you do it, you're going to feel a little bit better about yourself. And still to this day, and I will say it every time, the most empowering thing I ever did was leave my abuser. That took so much courage and so much bravery and so much, like, I never thought I was worth anything more than that. I never thought I was worth a loving relationship, and he made sure I knew that. And that's something that abusers do, is make sure that you know you're not worth anything, even though you are. And I'm not saying that anybody's not worth anything, and please don't take it that way, but like, they ingrain it in your brain that like, you'll never get better, nobody's gonna love you, nobody's gonna want you. He made sure to tell me that. He made sure to like ingrain it in my brain. And when you already have low self-esteem, it's not hard for you to believe it. So it took me a long time to actually leave, but once I got to that point where I couldn't go through this abuse anymore, my kids were being affected, and life was just not worth living if I kept living like that, and my kids kept living like that. It just didn't make sense to stay. And then I left, and it was like, why did I stay so long? And then you feel bad, because it's like, what was wrong with me that I stayed so long? And that's why I think healing is really important, and educating yourself is really important. And that's why, it's important for people to voice what they've gone through. And I don't think everybody needs to, but I think, the people who do choose to share their story are so important, to show others that they aren't alone and that they aren't crazy and that they weren't wrong for staying as long as they did, because it's hard to leave when you're so not in your right frame of mind. Abuse really does warp your mind and really does warp your view on reality and like your sense of self-worth, and you know, you're willing to do things that you would never normally be willing to do for people, especially people who are mistreating you so horribly. And you think that you deserve the things that they're saying and doing, and you think that, you know, they're so great when they're really not. And like, abuse really is a crazy, crazy, crazy thing. And in my opinion, it affects your mind just like a drug would. Long-term effects of abuse is crazy. Not what this video is about, but anyways, yeah, I think owning what you say, making strong, bold choices, not being on the fence. And that was something that's so hard for me, is I was always afraid to take these big leaps and afraid to like own my choices and my voice and what I would do. And now it's like, nope, I'm boldly taking choices. I'm boldly making decisions. I'm boldly saying what I think and what I feel. And it makes you so much more confident, and it makes you look so much more confident and respectable, and people have so much more respect for you when you are that bold and, you know, assured in yourself. You look and feel more empowered that way. I hope you got something out of this video. If you did, please let me know down below. Other than that, I will see you in the next one.